Back in the car for another video. Unbelievable. It's a few hours after I recorded the last one, the Joseph Murphy one. So I just want to add, you probably want to watch the two previous videos I did about Neville and then Joseph Murphy talking about taking action, specifically like inspired type of action, and how inspired action as opposed to forced action is really key in helping us get what we want as opposed to not get what we want. But here's the thing. This is what I was talking about in the first video where I was talking about Neville's advice in the role of action. As I mentioned in that first video, a lot of people who are successful applying these principles will tell you their biggest criticism of Neville's advice is that he doesn't encourage taking enough outward action. And I've found that on a practical level often seems to be the case, right? It's one thing to assume the state, but you're going to find it much easier to assume the state if you're doing a bunch of stuff outwardly. And Neville doesn't touch upon this as much as most New Thought, law of attraction, let alone self-improvement people do. Self-improvement people take it the other way, and I often say take massive action, where you're taking action just for the sake of action. That's obviously not what we're talking about here. We're talking about taking the action that seems appropriate. In last video where I was talking about Joseph Murphy, he says you're compelled to take the right action if you've assumed the state or the desire that you want, the state of having the desire. You're compelled to do the right thing. And sometimes if you've really assumed that state, that is enough. And that's when you have these success stories with SATs where someone seemingly does almost nothing. They just go to sleep night after night in the wish fulfilled, and then they manifest what they want. But what I want to emphasize in this video, the reason I'm making this third video about this action thing, is that most of the time you're going to be taking outward action that is not just doing SATs or, falling asleep in prayer. If it's something big that you want, you're going to be compelled to take outward action. And, again, speaking to people who are very successful, entrepreneurially or, are just very successful in their careers, usually they have, they feel their desire. They feel their goal before it's manifested in the 3D world, right? Obviously. And because they feel that goal day after day is already happening and, inwardly in a way it already has happened, as Neville likes to talk about and Joseph Murphy likes to talk about, because of that, they're compelled to go forth and live their life to make sure the goal is occurring in their outward reality. They want, like, their inner reality, they have to match their outer reality to their inner reality. So they're compelled to do certain things to make them successful. And again, this is when we delve back into much more traditional self-help, where it's like you're compelled to take the next step, to take the appropriate action, inspired action. Now, I wanted to make this video because I wanted to let you know that inspired action, we want to feel relaxed, we want to feel good, we want to feel in flow. But inspired action also means taking the action that you have to make. Okay? So it's like you have to do certain things in order to get something, right? Sometimes that is as simple as just falling asleep in the wish fulfilled and then seemingly this thing just comes to you, like Murphy's book deal, with the French publisher. Usually it's more like you fall asleep in the wish fulfilled, or you're assuming a state throughout the day and you're compelled to do things. And that compulsion is your inspiration. But is that compulsion going to always feel relaxed? Ideally it is, but in reality, hell no. Absolutely not. Like, let me give you an example from my life. I have right now a 4.5-year-old and a 1-month-old, okay? And so one of my desires is to make sure that everybody in my house is happy and healthy. And I assume that day after day, right? And I go to sleep in that feeling. And I'm compelled to make sure that happens with my outward actions throughout the day. I don't just sit on my butt and assume that's the case. I have to do things, right? And having a 1-month-old and a 4.5-year-old in the house means I have to do a lot of stuff. I'm taking massive action most days these days, or not most days, every day these days. I'm taking massive action. Does all that action always feel relaxed? Do I always feel inwardly calm while I do it? Abso-fucking-lutely not. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my life. And I think most, parents of young children would tell you it can be quite difficult and quite a spiritual practice just to stay somewhat calm and navigate, parenting especially while doing other stuff and just dealing with other things in your life. So do I always feel inwardly relaxed and flowy as I go through my day? No. But do I always feel compelled to act outwardly and do what needs to be done? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. There's certain things I need to do each day that are just non-negotiable. I am compelled to do them. Now, if there's an action that I don't have to do, I can ask myself, is this coming from a place of inspiration or a place of, fear? And if it's coming from a place of fear, I don't have to necessarily do it. For instance, it's like, do I really have to clean the kitchen right now? It's like, no, I don't have to actually clean the kitchen right now. That is coming from a place of feeling like I have to do something while I don't actually have to do it. I can wait and do it later. And I can relax and just, enjoy what I'm doing right now. That's something I don't have to do. So I'm not actually compelled to do that. That's not inspired action. But if my 1-month-old is crying, I have to do something, okay? I can let them cry, but I'm only going to let them cry for that long. Not for that long am I going to let them cry. I'm compelled to do something. Do I feel flowy and totally relaxed always when I have a newborn who's screaming, Of course not. Of course not. But I'm compelled to act and to actualize my desire, which is to have a happy, healthy household, by doing what needs to be done. That's taking appropriate action. So perhaps I should have clarified last video that inspired action means truly inspired to do something. It's appropriate action a lot of the time. That is a better term. You're taking the appropriate action that is aligned with your desire. The appropriate action. There's a famous saying, I think it's from the East, which is like, you have to want liberation as much as a drowning man wants air. And that kind of is what we're talking about, and what Neville and Murphy often talk about having a burning desire. Like when you really want something, you're going to do what you need to do to get it a lot of the time, right? And that is like, a drowning person, they want air more than anything else, And when we look at desire and being compelled to do something, it's because we really want it and feel aligned. That's part of what this is too. Now, you can be much more flowy and, things can just be smooth. But when there's something big in your life that you want that seems, emphasis on seems, difficult to get or to have in outward reality, chances are you're going to run up against a bunch of seemingly difficult stuff, and it's your compulsion, your strong desire, your drowning and wanting air that makes you take that act. That's inspired action. That's appropriate action. So inspired action doesn't always seem inspirational and relaxed and flowy. It's just the right fucking thing to do at the right time when you need to do it. And again, it has nothing to do with just staying in your room and trying to manifest something that you don't really need. I hope this clarified stuff and didn't make it seem more complicated. These 3 action videos, either you're going to follow what I'm saying, I feel like, or you're not. Again, you can email me, info@radicalcounselor.com, if you feel like you need further clarification, or just listen to one of the numerous podcast episodes I have where I explore these concepts in a more calm and understandable way.